Here we are with part 5 of the lovely Kitty Hawk Bronco build, where I'm doing it my way. On these booms, as we said before, I've done all the work on the bottom now, we've got them seamless. I thought there was a seam up there, there isn't. So basically I did the seam in one of these about 4 times and then noticed in my references there actually is no seam there, so yeah, kicked myself there. So that's all done now, all the rivets are in and all the lines are all scribed in, so that's that. One thing I don't like about this model is the rudder. Every other control surface on it is separate. They can all be made to move or position, not move, but they're positionable, so you can have it, you know, because I'd like to display this model with the wheels slightly turned over, which means the rudder would be slightly over. So I decided I need to cut them off and make them separate, which I've done here. So you can see this one's all been cut off, made separate. Here is the rudder, and the rudder just fits on like this, and then we can have it positionable. But even if we have it straight, I think you'll agree it looks a lot better than just having the plastic part there, or just the sorry, not the plastic part, the part molded on. So how do we go about getting it off? And I'm going to try and show you all this in one video. It's quite a lengthy process. The first thing I've got to do is cut this rudder off. So what I'm going to do is start with my saw and use it as a scriber and go across the top and just literally following the moulded in line. I'm just going to cut until I go through, which is just about to happen there. Okay, I'm going to do this from each side everywhere we go, because we don't know that everything is perfectly parallel. What we don't want to do is go hacking through there and then find out we've cut halfway through a rivet line or something. So just do the same on this side. And basically keeping the saw 90 degrees to the surface. And there we go. So now I can come through on the back. Oops. What I basically want to do is, I hope I just cracked that seam, did I? Yes, I did. Look at that, I've just cracked that joint. Oh. These joints are out to get me, I tell you. So just cut through the back here now. I think I need to get a new blade in this saw, to be honest. That's it, through now. So now we can just go through on both sides, staying in the groove, just like so. And then what I'm going to do here on the other side, just going to go down this line and make a line. Okay, then as we go through, I'm going to slowly tip the saw over so that I end up cutting like this. Okay, so once we've established a line, we can start to cant the saw over. You don't want to do it straight away because you might slip and go across your surface and destroy all the detail. There we go, we're through already. Oops. You know, that's what you can do when you slip. You can make a horrible gouge in your plastic. Because I'm rushing this on camera, that's the sort of mistakes you make, but it's nothing to worry about, it's easily repairable. And then I'm going to take my little saw like this, see if I can get it in there and just come up to the corner. Yeah, it's a bit too thick at the moment, so let's do the other side now. So again, start off straight, just to establish a line, and then flip the knife over, make your cuts on the angle. just like that. Oops. As I say, I'm rushing this, so I'm making small mistakes, and when you do this you really want to take your time. Okay, so now we're separated there, so we need to get up into these corners. I've got this little saw here which goes in the X-Acto handle. I can just come up to there and just drag that around and cut it to get a sharp corner. Like so. And I should be able to, I can't get into that saw, can I? I should be able to get this saw in here now. Unfortunately it's flexing like mad. Just cut up to the corner. Nope. Right, so that's out. So now what I need to do, I ended up getting it with that saw in the end anyway. What I need to do now is just clean this up. Now, first of all, go in with the sanding stick, a fairly coarse, flat, hard stick, just to get it all straight. And then what I'm going to do is, with my knife, I'm just going to go in and scrape the plastic away, so I end up with a fairly thin edge. It doesn't need to be razor sharp, it just needs to be fairly thin. And this is to get your radius part in there. Okay, so that's some more thinning. And as I say, this applies to any kit really. What I am going to do is put a bit of magic marker on this so I can see how thin that edge is. It applies to any kit, any aircraft, ailerons, elevators, flaps, whatever. It's all the same process. And obviously the smaller the scale, the smaller the bits of tubing and everything you use, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, so that's scraped out now, and I can see that this edge is slightly thicker than that edge, so just take some more out of here. I must say this Kitty Hawk plastic is a joy to work with. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, it doesn't bend and go all gooey as soon as you touch it with glue. It's really nice stuff. And then what I am going to do now is just square off this top corner. So go in there with a knife nice and square, in there nice and square, to get a nice square corner in there. Okay, because it's easier to do that now than it is to try and scrape it in, or sand it in, should I say. Just get that level. And we can see now the bit we cut out would still fit straight back on if we wanted to. So now what I'm going to do is, I've got some pre-cut plastic here, and I've got to remember which bit is which. This piece here, I believe. No, this piece here goes in here. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of masking tape, stick it onto there, and then I can put that in there. I'm going to clean those edges up. piece of masking tape, I can put that in there. Hopefully not lose it down in there. Oops. Let's try it this way. It's a little bit too fat, I think. There we go, so I can put some glue on that now and probably pull it about. So it should pivot around. Nope, it's not going to play ball. There we go. So we just put that in, leave it just proud. Put some more glue on there, let that set. That's the top of that taken care of. And then we can come along to our rudder itself. And sand the round profile onto it. Just like so. Checking to fit, and we know that on the top of here we're going to have to put a packing piece, but we'll do that after we've done this. And we're going to glue this onto here, which I've cut slightly too short by the look of it, but never mind. So what I'm going to do is cut the top at that angle, and we can build the bottom up with a piece of stock. So just glue this on. If you don't have round tube, you could use square, you could use a bit of old sprue, you could use anything. Oh, something I have forgotten. These pieces of plastic here are going to go in where I'm going to cut through where the hinges are. And that way we won't end up with a hollow hole where the hinge is. And the same down here. Just give that a little pull. There we go. So they're in. And then this can be glued on. This is just a piece of plastic tube I've cut in half. And I'm just going to literally glue this on like so. Plenty of cement. Let the cement do the work, let it melt everything and gel it all together. And what should happen is it should just start to just pop inside. There we go. And that's our, basically that's the front of our rudder done, so it will sit in there. So now what we need to do is take a rule. I'm just going to push the root of that in flat. Then I'm going to sand an angle on the top of this tube here, or half a tube should I say, and then this is going to sit in here like so. so I can cut the bottom off where that line was, and then just sand a bit off. It should sit inside the fuselage there. I need to take some more off the length, don't I? Okay, so now I've got that like that. What I'm going to do is take this, hold it in a pair of dogleg tweezers like this, and I'm just going to sand the sides because I want to get the most contact area. If I just glue it in like this, it'll be edge to edge. It won't be a very large contact area of glue. So I just want to sand it just to increase the contact area. Need to take some more off of there. I just want to get it straight and parallel. And now that should sit in there beautifully like that. Okay, so we've got a bit of a gap at the bottom, not worried about that. Just fill that with a bit of stock. So now we can put some glue in here. Nudge it in. Same on the bottom, just nudge it in. And that is that. And again with the rule, I'm just going to push it down to make sure it's all flush with where we sanded earlier. And then we know everything's staying nice and square, and then our rudder will sit in like that, in that radius. Hey guys, how we doing? Right, this is actually 11 days since the last segment, so in the middle of Resin City at the moment again with these Hellcat engine cores, and the tank moulds are made now, and there's the engine core sitting in a mould there. So basically, yeah, this has been 11 days. I put some filler around this plastic insert I put in the front of the rudder, and as you can see here it needs some more, so what we'll do is we'll deal with this and then we'll look at the filler work afterwards, and when I finish this video I can put the filler in then and wait for it to dry and sand it down. So what we need to look at now is getting these actual hinges in. Okay, now depicted on the plastic parts with the little marks you can see here. So first thing we need to do is mark on here where we're going to be putting the hinges. So what I'm going to do is just place the rudder in there like so, and then I'm going to take a pencil and mark a line where the hinge is going to go. I'll do that on both sides. Like so. So we've got that marked. Now what I'm going to do is actually cut these out. And what I'll do is I'll start with a knife and just get that filler marked there. Like so, The same on the other side. This doesn't need to be perfect because, as you'll see in a minute, we'll probably be putting some plastic card in here. And I'm going to take my JLC saw. I've had a few questions about this saw. You get it from modeltools.co.uk or modelingtools.co.uk. It's a JLC saw, and I think it's the best razor saw money can buy. You can get RB Productions ones, which are great. You can get the Tamiya ones, but I think actually value for money and for having a nice big handle and long. I mean, this is 10 years old probably now, I guess. And I mean, the saw blades are just brilliant. You've seen me cutting steel with them. They're awesome. So yeah, if you want to get yourself one of these, modelingtools.co.uk. I was also asked if other blades fit. Well, I'm not sure if other people's blades fit, but I do know that it's sort of a system. So you buy the JLC saw handle and the blades. In fact, they do a box set which you can get as well. But I don't really see the value in having a box to keep your saw in. Just, you know, put it in the drawer. You don't need to. It doesn't need to be particularly protected. So I'm just going to cut these out, and then I'll come back to you. Right, so they're cut out now, and if you look carefully on here, the camera will focus. You will see that the this area here has been mismolded. If you look at this one, you can see that that slot goes back to the beginning of that panel line in there, and yet on this one it actually encroaches into it on that side. So what I'm going to do is just cut that out like so. Okay, that's that done. And now what I've done here, I've cut a piece of plastic strip, piece of scrap plastic to the right size to fit in there. So I can just wedge that in there. Whoops. I can wedge that in there like so. Okay, and then put some glue on it. And it'll probably move about a bit more now because the glue will soften the surrounding plastic. And I can just leave that to dry and then trim it off and sand it back, and if I have to cut any more depth out of it I can, and then I can rescribe the line, put the rivets in and job done. So yeah, that was a moulding error there. This slot here I'm kind of happy with. Unfortunately on this rudder the moulding's not as good as the other one. I wish I'd done this one as the example, because on this one everything all lined up perfectly, but on this one the actual hinge lines side to side didn't line up. So in fact this one here was way off at an angle. So what I'm going to have to do is trim some material out of here like so, and just widen it out a touch. And this is good for you guys that not so accurate with the saw if you make a mistake or whatever. This is just to show you there is no need to panic, no need to worry. I should be able to get a sanding stick in there. No, I can't. I just want to make sure I cut it parallel, because it doesn't matter if it's too wide, but you really want it parallel. Because there's nothing worse than trying to correct a wedge. There we go. So as you can see, when you compare it to that one, it's too wide. It's probably a little bit too deep as well. So I've got my box of scrap plastic here, so I can find a piece. What I'll do is I'll find the piece of plastic I'm going to use, and then I'll come back. Right, so I know I need this piece of 20 thou plastic card to make the hinge from. So basically this needs to fit snugly in that gap. So looking at this, it's a little bit sloppy, so I'm just going to pack it out. Now if I compare the two rudders and line them both up, I can see that on this one I need packing in the top. So got some 10 thou card here, just going to hold that in place, get some glue in there, and then quickly get it up into position. what I have noticed while I'm doing this, the rule is your friend. You can get your rule and use it to push everything all about. You can push those back pieces back in and get them square, and push these up like this. What you really want to do is just squish it into submission when the glue's all melting it, and get it into the right shape. Just like that. And now this plastic card will fit in there nicely. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll trim that off, and then when we do our Mr. Surface or fill or whatever, then all this is going to blend in beautifully. Right, it's all glued in now and dry and everything, and we can, like I say, use the rule to manipulate stuff and get corners nice and square. And there we go, that's that all done. So now we need to do this part. Now, as I said, remember I said these lines were out on either side, so I've rubbed off the marks I previously put on for these hinge points. And it's crucial that you hold this in the right place, because as these obviously come off the hinges, you can see on this one that as they come off, they sort of come away. So it's crucial that you get these in the right place for the right final position, with it all, you know, snuggled up into the radius there. So what I'm going to do first of all is mark these lines here for this one. Okay, so that's where that one's going to go. And then up here I can mark there where that one's going to go. And now with my saw, put the blade in, just drag back on each line, make 2 lines. I'm not cutting the other side, I'm just cutting this side at the moment. And then what I can do with the saw is put it in. In fact, now what I'll do, I will mark the other side as well, just in case we're slightly out of square because of those panel lines. So I'll do the same again, just drag the blade on the line, drag the blade down, and then what I'm going to do is, just using the blade, I'm going to cut across the slot each side like so, keeping everything nice and square. There we go. Okay, so that's that done, and then what we can do is take our pointed knife and just cut down here, remove that plastic. Same on the other side, cut down there and remove that plastic, stick the knife into the groove, and you should find you can just flick it out just like that. Again, stick the knife into the groove you just made, and then just out it comes. And then what we can do is take our saw again and just clean up corners. And then I'm going to get a file or a sanding stick. There we go, and I'll just go and grab a file. Okay, so using a file, we can just file away in that groove and make sure that we're flush across the bottom, because the objective of the exercise is to get this card to sit in there, okay, and be flush with the bottom so there's no gaps, and also be flush on the outside and not leaving any gaps. So I'm just going to, one more gentle line, stroke with this, and then we can get that in there, and then just glue it in place. That's that done. And then I would suggest leaving this overnight to dry. I'm just going to check the angle, it needs to come up a bit. Yeah, I would suggest leaving this overnight to dry before you start doing anything with it. I've actually cut the groove a little bit, a little touch too wide there, so it's a little bit sloppy. But it'll be fine come the end. Right, so just leave that to dry. We'll do the same on here with the 20 thou card, and then it's just a case of trimming them to shape. And you can see here we've got the two triangular shapes, and we've got to add some detail for the actuators or whatever. So there you go. If you decide that you want to get your rudders looking more realistic and having them you know, positionable, so if you want to be really trick, what you could do is drill up through there and put a brass pin in, and they would actually move. You could, you know, have them properly hinged, but I doubt very much if I'll do that. Although I may, I don't know. But to me, it just seems, for this kit, it just seems the logical step, because every other control surface is separate and positionable except for this one, and it's also not very defined, the moulding. So I think it just really will add another dimension. I mean, just look how the shadows pick up on that rudder, just if you have it just slightly off, you know, it's and even like that joint in there, even if you have it straight, it just looks so much better than having a moulded plastic recess. So there we go, guys. I'm going to call that a day for this video. What I've got to do now is put some Mr. Surfacer in there, let that dry off and sand it, leave this overnight, and then I can trim that down to shape and then do the upper one and then trim that to shape. Then in the next video in the Bronco series, what we'll be doing is actually attaching these to the wings. And I'm going to make up some kind of temporary jig using cardboard or something. I haven't quite decided yet. What we're going to do, we're going to get it on the bench, and we're going to get it under the camera, and we're going to get it dead square, held in place, taped in place, and we can measure diagonals and check levels and everything before we use any glue whatsoever, and then get the glue in there, put it to one side, let it dry for 2 days, so it's absolutely solid, and then we can start bolting the other bits on all around it. So thanks for watching this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry it's been such a long time. I need to get back to my Hellcat now and do some more resin casting. And I also want to get those build-alongs wrapped up as well, the Yukos 88 and the Typhoon. And we're going to be starting, when one of those are finished, we're going to be starting a Airfix 124 scale Typhoon. So you can do the car door, you can do the bubble top, whichever one you wish to do. I think I'm going to do the car door, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.